Let's welcome Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, don't ever give an actress a microphone. You people are so fucked right now. Do you know I have a secret skill? Do you know that?
No.
I do. Shall we just get it over with? We can all go home?
Sure.
Would you hold the microphone for me, please?
You'll never starve.
Hi, Leonard.
You have skills.
I have skills. I have mad skills, as the kids say.
If radio comes back, you
Oh, I have, by the way, I have a very good sort of late night DJ radio voice. You know, I can drop it down and
Great.
get into that sort of late night thing. Again,
skills.
skills, mad skills.
What? Now, settle in. We're gonna be talking for a while.
It's all good.
Yeah. What would your mother think tonight?
Well, my mother would have loved, I mean, both my parents would have loved it. They loved you. They would have loved this. I mean, look, you peel us all back to our little selves when we were children. And if you're lucky to have been born out of love, and, you know, this is, I am their daughter, and I am my grandparents' granddaughter. And that idea, you want me to be your mom? Wow. I might give you my children's telephone number, and they might disabuse you of that great desire. But with all true sincerity and honesty, I am the granddaughter of immigrants from Hungary and from Denmark. And the dreams of those people coming to America, having the opportunities and the difficulties and the heartaches and the tragedies and the tiny little bit of joy. And then they each, both of them, raised two children who became these massive stars from incredibly impoverished beginnings. And then to have their daughter, who did not come from an impoverished beginning. I have had a life of privilege, of ease. I've never pretended anything but that. But nonetheless, that their daughter is sitting up here talking to you about the craft of acting, about a lifelong career. I'm 64 years old. I was doing that since I was 19. By honoring me, you have honored my parents and my grandparents and my family and my children, who do like me, by the way. It is the continuum of all of our lives. There's not one person in this room that can't link back to that. And by the way, Leonard's granddaughter is backstage running around with a little torch. And you, I mean, why are we here? We're here to make families and to bring art to this place. And it's just beautiful to be here. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you. Well, no, excuse me. This is somehow being filmed somewhere, and all of a sudden I'm just worrying about like how jackets, you know, you're supposed try to sit on a jacket at home,
sit on the tail
you're
of your
not
jacket.
sitting in it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm going to see pictures and it's going to be nasty. And so I'm just trying to make sure that it looks okay. What?
It's
This
called,
is a raucous group, man. This is
Oh,
you know
yeah.
the golf tournament where everybody drinks and yells. This is sort of like that. It's
Yeah.
good. I like it.
yeah, they're not a tame bunch. When we were talking the last couple of weeks, you made mention of the fact that you've never trained. You never had acting lessons. You never went to an acting school. Do you think it just came naturally to you? Do you think it's from having observed your parents at work, if not, at home? Do you think it's intuitive?
Well, it's certainly intuitive for me. I also work with and am very close with many actors who have been to acting schools and Juilliard and Yale Drama School and have worked with acting coaches throughout their careers. And there's not a job they do that they don't do and partner with an acting coach. I was, and it'll just so you guys all understand, you already know this. I was barely could crawl my way out of high school. I got into the only college where my mother was the most famous woman to have ever graduated. They wanted me and my D plus 840 combined SAT score average. I was their girl and they wanted me. And I went to this college and, majored in like criminology and minored in being a little sister at a frat. I had no business in higher education. And I came home from college and I ran into a guy that used to teach tennis but now was managing actors, which is, the perfect Hollywood story. And he said to me, they're looking for Nancy Drew, why don't you go up for it? And I went, okay. And I went and auditioned for Nancy Drew at Universal, and I did not get the part, but he said they liked you. And I took the month of January off of school, did an independent study, said I would go to like acting class and dance class and auditions, and could I write a paper for college of how I tried to break into show business. And at the end of the month, I would go back to college. And at the end of the month, I ended up signing a 7-year contract at Universal Studios and quit college. And turned the paper in, by the way. I know you're all thinking like I totally didn't write the paper. I wrote the fucking paper and got credit for it.
Good.
But so that is how I've become an actor. I was never going to be an actor. I was going to be a police officer. And so because of that, oh, don't laugh. I would have been a great police officer. Seriously. And because of that, I am an unplanned actor, and I didn't ever really go to acting class. I felt like I should, and there was an acting teacher named Alan Rich, who's also an actor, a blacklisted actor, a wonderful performer and teacher. And somebody took class with him, and I went, okay. And I went over and did a scene with him in his house, in his living room. And, we did this scene, whatever it was, I don't remember. And at the end of the scene, he said to me, well, you don't need acting class. You know how to act like somebody else. What you need is to expand your vocabulary. And basically what he was saying is watch movies, go to plays, listen to music, travel, eat good food, expand your palate so that you have better choices as a performer. And that's literally what I do. I am not an intellectual. I respect the art and the craft. I respect people's process. I understand some people have to go to those great lengths to get to that work, and I don't. And I don't make any excuses or try to minimize that what I'm offering is still valuable and important, even though I go at it from a very natural way.
But then you haven't been asked to play Medea.
And I won't be asked to play Medea. And if you ask me to play Medea, I will say no. And I know what I can do. I know what I cannot do. And I've managed to be able to have a really rich and robust group of opportunities in show-off business.
So we're going to take back to the beginning because having been alerted by Jamie that this clip existed, we're going to show you her second appearance on film.
So I'm just going to say one thing. I was a contract player at Universal. Part of the thing is they put you in things, right? Universal had 18 hours of network television
dominated
at
television.
the time.
Yeah.
And part of the contract system was that they would just fill those TV shows. And so I was sent to do a tiny scene in a TV show that ended up, I'll tell you what happened after when you see it.
Okay. And we're going to see that clip, and then the first and only Halloween, directed by John Carpenter, and then The Fog.
Are there 3 clips?
The 3 clips in a row.
Okay, so I will tell you this. So no, it's important. So what you're about to see, the first little clip is a TV show where I came in and did this day's work, and about maybe a month later, the show aired, and somebody came up to me on the street and said, "Hey, I saw you on The Tonight Show last night." I said, "Well, I'm sorry, I wasn't on The Tonight Show last night." And they said, "Yeah, you were." And Peter Falk, who is the actor in the scene, took the clip that you're about to see on The Tonight Show. My second job in show business, I was on The Tonight Show. But the other thing you need to know was, as a contract player, I was cast in a TV series called Operation Petticoat, which was not a TV series. It was a TV movie. They turned it into a TV series. And I did that for a year on ABC. I was a regular on a ABC half-hour comedy, and I got fired along with 11 other actors. And I thought in that moment that my life was over. I thought that I would lose my contract. I thought, contract players, so you understand, they have the option every 6 months of picking up your option. You don't have the option.
No,
they have it.
It's a one-way street.
So it's a one-way street. It's very nerve-wracking, and many people lost their contracts. So I thought for sure I would lose my contract. I have to go back to college. Ugh. And had I not been fired from Operation Petticoat, I would not have been able to audition for Halloween. And that is the job that changed my life. So there you go. For anybody out here who has been fired, who thinks it's the last end of the road for you, the light at the end of the tunnel or the silver lining to this horrible experience was that I ended up making a movie that would change my life. So there.
When you read the script of True Lies, how was that scene described?
So you need to hear how True Lies happened. So just so y'all know, I was sitting at my home with my husband. The phone rang. I picked it up. Hello? Hi, Jamie. It's James Cameron. Hi, James. What's up? And he said, "I've written a movie for you and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'd like you to read it. I can't give you the script, but I can send somebody to the house and they'll wait for you while you read it." So thing. I read it, and they took it away. I called him back. I agreed. We met for coffee, and then I agreed, of course, to the movie. Amazing. Are you saying because of the lighting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when I was going to do the movie, the first call I made was to with 2 calls. I called the production manager and I said, "Hi, it's Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm going to play Helen Tasker. When is the scene in the hotel room where she, dances without her clothes on?" And he said, the second week. And this was like a month from that moment. And I thought, okay. And then I said, can I speak to, I need to speak to the production designer. Because it is written in that script that Helen, who is kidnapped from that hotel, is, she wakes up in that cell with a single bulb above her head, you know, like an interrogation room. Now, I don't know about all y'all, but Mommy needs light on her face. And Mommy's known that about her face for a very long time. And I knew that a single bulb above my head for 10 pages of dialogue was not going to be pretty. And I called the production designer, and now y'all are going to have to go back and watch the movie, and you're going to see my handiwork. I called the production designer and said, I require light on my face, and I don't know where you're going to really be able to source a light enough to light me in this bare bulb room. I said, you're going to need to create a light box around the mirror so that I can then justify some light on my face. And when you see the movie, there is a big-ass light box around the cell I am in, which allows them, of course, then to light me, and I then get lit. But that was not the original design of that set. The other thing I need to let you know, just because you're not actors, but you don't care, but it's fine. I made a very big mistake on True Lies. I allowed them to use me as what they call cover set. So cover set means that when you're shooting exteriors, you need to have an interior scene that you can go to if it rains. And so when they shot that big sequence in downtown Miami on top of the building with the Harrier jet and all the helicopters, the cover set was Helen's interrogation room because they could travel that set to every city. So we shot that sequence. When you see that sequence, that was shot over 4 months, 4 different times. So the close-ups on me were one day. Then a month later, the wide shot. 2 months later, over Arnold to me. I'm telling you, it was, and it's, you know, it's a lot of work. It was an important sequence in the movie. And I learned my lesson. I will never allow them to use me as a cover set for an important sequence ever again, because that was just a mistake on my part.
Now, at that time, Arnold Schwarzenegger was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, movie star on the planet. And I don't think he'd had a leading lady to speak of in his films, but this was a big change for him, and even he recognized it.
Yeah. Oh, I know where you're going. I know. I like the way you pitch.
Well,
no, it's good. Good, Leonard. You're awesome.
I'm just teeing them up. You have to hit.
I'll hit him home. You know, we made True Lies, this incredible experience, big, long shoot, very difficult to be away from my family. It was a tough shoot. The movie's coming out in July, and sometime in May, Jim called me on the phone, and he said, "Hi, Jamie, I'm sitting here with Arnold, and we have something we want to tell you." I was like, okay. And they said, the movie is True Lies, starring, you know, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger in True Lies. And I've just shown Arnold the movie. And I've said to him, Arnold, this is a movie about a marriage. And it's important that it's a domestic epic. And therefore, Jim went to Arnold and said, I think you need to let Jamie be above the title. Now, just so y'all know, my lawyers and my agent are all here. This is the kind of negotiation that actors negotiate, for credits. The credit in movies, when you see movies and then it says people above the title, Arnold Schwarzenegger in True Lies, starring Jamie, you know what I mean? Like that is a very expensive and beautiful part of the negotiation of movies. It's long standing. And I was credited as starring Jamie Lee Curtis. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, to his great credit, tells me and tells you everything about him as a person, agreed immediately with Jim and gave me above the title credit next to his name, which he did not have to do. And it's a really beautiful gesture on his part, I think. And thank you to my lawyers for trying for above the title. And I'm like totally fine that you didn't get it. It's totally fine. You can wave at me all you want. I'm not going to ask for like a refund or anything. I mean, it's all fine.
Well, sometimes things happen, for different reasons and for outside of the protocol. Like, for instance, though you were a teenager when you signed that contract at Universal, you were able to go and say hello to your uncle, Lou Wasserman.
Yes. So
Lou Wasserman being, at that time, arguably the most powerful executive in Hollywood.
It was the most powerful executive in show business, is a real pioneer in his day. A lot of the free agency, ran MCA Universal. Lou and Edie Wasserman, his wife, were my godparents. They were friends of Janet and Tony. Janet and Tony had their daughters. Both my sister Kelly and I are Lou and Edie Wasserman's godchildren. And when I first became an actor, when I was on Operation Petticoat, which, by the way, was a movie that Tony Curtis made with Cary Grant about a Navy sub that's painted pink, and they pick up 5 Army nurses who have to stay on the submarine, and, hilarity ensues. I mean, that's the premise of the movie, which is a 2-hour movie, right? You pick up the Army nurses, hilarity ensues, and then at the end of the movie, they get off the submarine. It's a genius. They made a TV series, which I was in, playing the woman opposite the part that Tony Curtis played in the movie. It's complicated, Nepo baby. And, I'm an Army nurse on a Navy sub, and, you're wearing whack outfits, khaki skirt, very tight blouses, very nipped in everywhere, big boobies, and, me. And, we would break for lunch and go to the commissary at Universal. We shot at Universal. And Lou Wasserman used to sit in the back on a raised sort of dais table. There were a bunch in the back. And he would sit there every day at lunch. And I used to walk into the commissary, and I'm only going to get up and walk just a little bit, but I'm just going to let you know, you can imagine, big, long commissary, big room, giant room. And Lou's at the end, and I am this, 22-year-old actress in an Army outfit with my hair all kind of 40'd out. And I walked through the thing like this. And I walked all the way through, and you're Lou, I walk all the way through the commissary, passing all these tables, and I walked up, and I walked to Lou Wasserman's table, the most powerful man in show business. And I walked up and I went, and the entire commissary was like, True story.
So having said no to horror movies,
Yes.
along comes an opportunity 20 years later to revisit Halloween.
Oh, we're already there? Wow, 8 hours has gone by so fast. It's unbelievable. Yes. So, yes. Oh, the 20-year
Yeah.
mark. Oh. Put on your jammies. It's going to be a long night. When I realized, and this is again owning power, but then not owning the power. Again, sort of trusting my instinct and then not really going for it. When Halloween was going to be 20 years old, when it was like 18 years old, I remember I ran into John and Deborah and I said, you guys, we should make a 20th anniversary movie. That's never been done before. Same creators, same actress in the movie 20 years later. Come on, it'll be amazing. And that was the beginnings of Halloween H2O. And what happened was, John and Deborah ultimately didn't do the movie. And the reason I'm saying that I didn't own my power is, one, I did not insist that I was a real producer, a real creator on that, and it was totally my idea. Two, when John decided not to do it and other people started to take over, a lot of men, what happened is, Deborah, I didn't say I'm not making the movie without Deborah Hill. And it is one of the, I don't have a lot of show business regrets, I really don't. That is, without question, the biggest mistake I made in show business is not demanding that Deborah Hill produce that movie or I'm not doing it. And at the time, it was a big paycheck for me. And she wasn't saying, like, I really want, you know what I mean? It wasn't like Deborah was really, really trying to do it and she was being rejected. She just sort of disappeared. But I didn't, you know, with all of this, the beautiful picture that Roger showed at the beginning with Michelle Yeoh and women supporting women, I didn't support Deborah Hill then. I didn't. I didn't demand that Deborah Hill produce the movie or I wasn't in it. And it's a regret. You know, she ended up passing away. We stayed friends till the end. So she wasn't angry at me, but I was angry at myself.
You were only supposed to be on that film a short time.
Yes, yes. So my friend John Borman, the great John Borman, asked me to be in the movie. He and I met when we were on the jury at the Cannes Film Festival together. We became friends, odd pairing, obviously family friends, you know, we traveled together. And the movie was shot in Panama, 2 weeks, and then in Dublin for the rest of it. And my part, Jeffrey Rush's wife, Louisa, was only in the movie a small bit, and I had quite a bit of time in Panama, and then just a brief couple scenes, interiors in Dublin. And you may have remembered this, but Pierce Brosnan's child was in a terrible car accident. One of his children was in a car accident where a car went over a cliff, and his son was in, you know, obviously critical condition, and it was unclear if he was going to survive. And we were in Dublin at the time, and I had a little baby who I had left at home. So I was only going to be gone 2 weeks. We decided it wasn't fair. Not a little baby, but like a 2-year-old. I think Ruby was 2. Anyway, and we decided that I would leave Ruby at home with Chris and, you know, a babysitter and our daughter Annie. And so now I'm in Dublin, and the only scene I had left was that scene that you just saw. And we didn't know if Pierce's son was going to survive. We didn't know, and he was delayed. And now I've been away from my family for now it's an extra week. Now it's another extra week. And it was one of the most difficult times for me being away from my family and not, obviously worrying about Pierce and his family. Anyway, and so that day that you just saw, I was like, Pierce came on. I think Pierce literally got off the airplane, came straight to the set. I was packed and my stuff was in the car. I just wanted to get home, and that was the sequence. But here's what I want to say about Pierce and I. It's so good. So John Borman and Jeffrey Rush are cinephiles. They are deeply thoughtful, intellectual creators who spend hours talking. And Pierce Brosnan had done Remington Steele. He got his teeth on American television. He did an hour show. You know what I mean? I mean, and I had done horror films where you just show up and do your work. And I remember there was a day in rehearsal where John and Jeffrey were talking. And I remember Pierce and I were sitting here like you and I are like going like this. And then at one point we got up and we said, you know what, I'm just going to go use the restroom. And okay, and we both got in the elevator in this hotel in Panama and was like, oh my fucking God. Do you even understand what they're saying? And he was like, no, and it was that moment where, as performers, you just feel fraudulent because you're like not talking. And it was just, I felt a real kinship with Pierce because we both showed up ready to work, and these people talked and talked and talked. And by the way, Jeffrey Rush is a brilliant actor, and John is a great director, so I totally understand the need to talk. But really.
You told me a while ago that Halloween gave you a gift, an unexpected gift, when you started making a personal appearance, that fans were so attached to the films and to your character that they were willing to be generous to a charity that you.
Oh, yes. So I've been working with Children's Hospital Los Angeles for 30 years as both ambassador. I've been on their board. I've just found out they've just named me literally an honor. I mean, like I'm being given a seriously beautiful honorary board position from them. I mean, they're beautiful people. I've been working with them for years. And obviously, horror film fans are lovely people. They're incredibly they're incredibly beautiful people, and they're kind and generous and want nothing but to get stuff signed, and they love you, and they're not bad people at all. They're gorgeous. And I had been asked to go to one of the conventions and do signing, and honestly, I know people do it for money for themselves. I'm not going to do that. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll come to the convention, one convention only ever in my life, and we will donate 100% of everything I make to Children's Hospital Los Angeles, which is a beautiful thing to do. Yes, of course. No, great. And these people effing showed up. 3 days in Indianapolis. I flew home with a suitcase with $300,000 in cash for the hospital because these personal appearances, they pay you cash for their pictures. And we just had this big, I mean, I'm telling you, I flew home with cash. But it was.
And it gave you a different picture of your fan.
Well, they're just loving and kind and beautiful people, and they wanted to support, Children's Hospital,
Yeah.
and they've been very generous.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had John Cleese write a movie for you,
Yes.
and then Ryan Johnson called you a couple of years ago.
Yes, who just came to the little pre-reception I had at the hotel before he was here doing something, and he came and we had a lovely time with him. Yes.
Great.
Well, he didn't write that for me. I was actually a replacement part. I've been a replacement part a couple times to big effect. I was a replacement part on Freaky Friday. Freaky Friday was a movie that was going, and an actress, for whatever reason, stopped doing it. And my agent, Rick Kurtzman here, who I went to high school with, another Nepo baby, has worked his ass off. He's a wonderful man. Rick Kurtzman called me. I was on a book tour promoting one of the books that I read for children, and Rick called me and said, someone has dropped out of this movie, and Disney has asked you to step in. And I think I was in Boston, and that was a Thursday. I read the script on Friday. I flew home and met the director Saturday. Sean James dyed my hair red Sunday, and I was working Monday. And that was a movie that literally was, I had both at home, a 5-year-old and a 15-year-old. And I was playing a 15-year-old with another child. Like, it was, my life was, it was insane. Let me just say this, it was insane. To go from nothing to a job where I'm, playing both a 45-year-old woman and a 15-year-old every day. It was insane, but it was beautiful. And I was a replacement part. I don't think, I was not the original intent for Ryan. I think there was another actress that he had hoped would do it, but she didn't. And again, my agent, Rick Kurtzman, called me, as he has many times to my great benefit, including the last movie, which we will discuss. But he called and said, Ryan Johnson would like to meet with you. And I met him and ended up going to Boston to make Knives Out.
Another hit movie.
Big hit movie.
Yeah.
Big hit movie. A big hit movie that, and Ryan has been very generous in saying so. It's a big cast. Mm-hmm. These movies have big casts. And clearly, over the time of the promotion of the film, I'm a enthusiastic supporter of the movies I'm in. Some might say insanely enthusiastic. Some might say I'm a crazy person because I invented Instagram, and therefore I am you're like laughing. See, you're just chuckling. And I will tell you how. I am a photographer, and I take photographs all the time. And when the iPhone came out, you could take really good pictures. And so I gathered about 30 photographer friends of mine, and I said to them, I'm going to start something called, and yes, you're going to record this, and you're going to go home, and you're going to look it up, and you're going to be in shock. I said, I've started something on a blog spot. It's called iPhonies, iPhone Photographers Sharing Their Vision, and it's iPhoneys.blogspot.com. And we uploaded 5 years of pictures until Instagram started 5 years later, and we all joined. And all of those pictures are still up on iPhonies, iPhone photographers sharing their vision. But Ryan Johnson was asked in an interview once, whose your MVP on that movie. And Ryan Johnson said, Jamie. And they said, why? And he said, because she was always on set. She never left the set. She always was on set. And he said, I ended up using her in shots I wasn't going to use her in because she was on set. And here's the deal. It's my secret sauce, you guys. Don't go back to your trailers. Trailers are not your friend. Stay on set. And I'm telling you.
This is hard-earned wisdom.
I'm telling you, if that pearl of wisdom you're going to get from me is stay on set. I'm an active set sitter. Jonathan Wong, our producer of Everything Everywhere All at Once, will tell you I never left the set. I don't believe in it. And Ryan was very generous in giving me that compliment. Chris Evans went back to his trailer. But you know what? He was just looking at pictures of himself in that sweater. I think he was just trying to see how the sweater looked. Did you ever see the picture of Chris and his dog in the sweater? Chris has a sweater for his dog, and then he's wearing the sweater. I mean, Chris is so delicious. I'm joking about him going to his trailer. He is not that guy. He's not. He's not. He's not. He's not.
Okay. Don't hitchhike in Santa Barbara. Not a good idea. Tell us the story of your first day, at the end of your first day of shooting on Halloween.
Yes. So Halloween was this little movie, auditioned many, 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 many times, and finally landed the role. Very quickly, we were shooting, very quick shoot. We were in South Pasadena, where that scary house was. And, you know, it was a full day's work, and it was the girls on the street and walking with the little boy and putting the key under the mat. And it was singing to herself as she walked away. And it was a, you know, good first full day. And I went home and, you know, was getting ready for the next day. And that evening, the phone rang at my house. And my roommate, Tina Cassidy, who was a hairdresser at the time, said, Jamie, John Carpenter's on the phone. Now, for those who aren't actors in the room, I think your fear is always that you're going to be fired. It's just your nature, is that it's an art form that's a strange, unquantifiable art form, and therefore you're just nervous. And I remember it was like 15 feet to the phone, and I could not walk slower. I just didn't want to pick up that phone because I was terrified. He was going to say, I'm sorry, Jamie, it's not going to work out. I looked at whatever. And I picked up the phone. I was like, hello? And John on the other end of the phone said, hey, darling, it's John. I just wanted to say you were fantastic today. And I am so happy that you're in the movie. I'm so happy that we're doing this together. It's going to be great. And you were just great. Now, I'm, as I said, don't clap, 64 years old. I've made a lot of movies. That is the only time in my entire life as an actor that a director has called me after the first day to say that the work was good, that they were excited. First job, John Carpenter, great story, great man. And the other thing I need to let you know is the reason I'm in the fog is one reason only. So Halloween, made 1978 for nothing, comes out, grows, starts to, you know, gather steam, became a big hit. Big, big, big hit. And all the people involved in the movie, John Carpenter, Deborah Hill, of course, became like these indie darlings, and now we're going to have other opportunities, and other actors got jobs, and I was sort of waiting for like this moment where someone would go, wow, you were great in the movie, whatever. And it didn't come. So here's what I did after Halloween. I did an episode of Charlie's Angels where I play Cheryl Ladd's best friend. I'm a professional golfer, which my husband will tell you when you see me play golf in the show where I had 1 day of lessons that I'm not a professional golfer. And at some point, Cheryl Ladd and I are walking over a bridge, and the bridge collapses, and she ends up wrestling an alligator. First job, besides Halloween, the second job was Love Boat, where I'm on my honeymoon on the Love Boat, and my parents come on the Love Boat with me. And to make matters worse, Janet Leigh played my mother in the Love Boat. Those are the 2 jobs that I got after Halloween. And John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, who at that point had become friends of mine, felt that that wasn't good. And so they wrote the part in The Fog, which then began to get me more work. So the reason I'm in The Fog is because they wrote the part for me because I was not getting any work after Halloween.
So that was a kindness.
Say again?
That was a kindness.
Oh, it's a kindness and a generosity and a belief, really, a real vote of confidence. Yes, for sure. Mm-hmm. And they put me on the poster. I remember they put me on the poster of The Fog. I'm sorry, my hands are up and I'm looking weird and there's a guy. Anyway, look, it was my second movie and I'm on the poster for the movie. I mean, it was a big deal. I know many actors are like, if they get their little picture on the poster, they're kind of thrilled. So, it's a big picture of me on the poster. Anyway, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. I was 20. It was a big deal.
Who championed you for the part in Trading Places?
So, I will tell you, and you know this, Leonard, sweet Leonard. No, I mean, it's just such a beautiful human being. So, all of my life goes back to Halloween. All of the good things in my life, including my husband, including my family, everything can be traced back to Halloween. And over the course of these 9 hours together, I will explain to you how. In this case, the reason that I met John Landis was because he was directing a short for Universal called Coming Soon, which was a short about 50s horror film trailers. And, those great, crazy 50s trailers with the scary themes. And he needed somebody to narrate it. So who would he call to narrate this documentary, this little short, but the current Scream Queen, which was me. So I get a call, John Landis would like you to, and they paid me, and I showed up at Universal, and we had never met. And, I'm doing my thing, and I had narration and voiceover, and you guys have met me for, 27 minutes. Clearly, I'm this person, but I was 21. And when he was casting Trading Places, he went to the studio and said, I'm going to hire Jamie Curtis to be Ophelia. And let me just say this. This was the female lead in a comedy starring Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. You may go, woo! But the truth is, I had just made horror films. So you can only imagine the loud chorus of disapproval for that choice. And John Landis is the reason that I'm in Trading Places, and I owe John Landis a great debt of gratitude for putting me in that film, because that flipped the switch, for sure.
But
Yes.
You've had a succession of champions.
Yes. Well, John Carpenter, a lot of Johns. A lot of Johns. Really? 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 What are you, 14? You're all grown-ups. You pay taxes. Oh my goodness. Yes, I've had a lot of Johns. I continue. Oy, oy, oy. So, John Carpenter, John Landis, and then because of Trading Places, John Cleese
Which star next?
wrote the part of Wanda for me in A Fish Called Wanda. Now, I got a phone call from my friend Ian Gordon. Just so you know, I also, in the midst of all this stuff, because ultimately, as you know, I also do commercials for yogurt that makes you poop. And so I started to, by the way, I'm the only Oscar nominee who has ever sold yogurt that makes you shit. I also did some TV presenting, and they hired me to do the Guinness Book of World Records with David Frost, but David Frost did Europe. So David Frost went in a Rolls Royce around, you know, Europe, England, Germany, everything, and to get all the Guinness stories. I went to South America in a canoe, seriously, and, you know, narrated anaconda wrestling. Joke you not. So that was also my TV gig. But the producer of that was a man named Ian Gordon, an Englishman. He called me after we got back from all of that, and he said, John Cleese would like to talk to you, and I had just gotten married to Christopher. Spinal Tap had just come out. I assumed that John would want to talk to Chris, and Ian said, no, John would like to talk to you, and called me and he said, I've written this movie for you, Michael Palin, Kevin Kline, and myself, and I would like you to come and do it, and it'll be great, and we'll be successful. And he was right.
How on earth did the Daniels picture you in this role? And how did you picture you in this role?
So Rick Kurtzman, Nepo baby, called me and said, you've been offered a movie. It shoots in Los Angeles, or in Simi Valley, not really Los Angeles. It's outside the zone, but, you know, it shoots in, kind of in LA. And it stars Michelle Yeoh, and you would play opposite her. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And he said, no, no, no. No, James, you got to read it. You got to read it. It's a little out there, and you got to read it. And I was like, but Michelle Yeoh is in it, and I'm with her? Yes. Well, I'll do it. And he was like, no, 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 read it. Anyway, the Daniels, I don't really know how I mean, Jonathan Wong would tell you how I ended up being that person, or why they came to me. They didn't write it for me, Avi. But, I mean, I'm thrilled that they did. And the truth is, I met with them. We went to, you know, these two young guys. I met them at the Four Seasons Hotel. I mean, it was weird. And we talked. And I had done a movie with Ben Affleck called Daddy and Them, which was a Billy Bob Thornton movie that he wrote and directed. And I play Ben's alcoholic older wife, a lawyer. I think her name was Elaine. And I chose a very specific look for Elaine that was Deirdre-esque. She wore some like stirrup pants, and there was like a sailor theme. maybe some kabuki makeup. It was like I chose very specifically. And I brought the Polaroid from that movie to the Daniels. And I said, I'd like to go in this direction. And they said, yes. And luckily, they have a fantastic costume designer, Shirley Carrata. And between she and Anissa, who did hair, and Michelle, who did makeup, or vice versa, sorry, we came up with Deirdre. And, you know, it's a beautiful movie about many things. It's about love, as you know, it's about family, reunification, it's about failure. It's about the American dream and the failure of the American dream and what we put immigrants through. It's about a marriage. It's about a child. It's deep. And Michelle Yeoh, when we first started to talk about the movie, she said, you know, Evelyn is an ordinary woman that you would pass on the street, unremarkably pass on the street, that you pass Evelyns on the street every day. And Deirdre is a forgotten person, too. She represents that part of our lives where people are doing jobs they hate, but they wield the power of their jobs. We all know Deirdre. There's not one person in this room who hasn't met Deirdre Beaudeirdre. And I have met her, and I know Deirdre's, and I know the incredible loneliness that they feel when they go home at night. And I know the power that they wield with their jobs. And I just felt like I knew her. And when I showed up, I mean, I showed up on set as Deirdre day one. I mean, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
That was not the first time you played that scene.
No. So when Leonard and I first spoke, when I had COVID, fuck COVID. And we were talking about this evening and how thrilled I was and honored to have been chosen. You know, we talked about this sort of overarching idea because, as you guys can tell, I don't take much very seriously. And, you know, seriously, I'm pretty loose about it all. I'm not. And trying to think of like what has actually brought me to this place as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, as an artist, as a business owner, as a creator, as a thinker. And it's about understanding and claiming my power, understanding and claiming what, in fact, I can and am doing here on this earth, and trusting my instincts. And this is a great example of me not trusting my instinct and it biting me in the ass and then having the courage to say. So briefly, the scene with Otto that you guys just saw, that's how it's written. And when we first rehearsed the scene, John and Charles Crichton said, what we want is for Kevin to be in total motion. And we want Wanda to be sitting stock still on a bed. It used to take place in a room in their apartment. And I said, really? I just don't feel like it. That would be what she would do. And he's like, yes, you just stay there and Kevin's gonna walk fast. And we rehearsed it. And I still didn't feel that it was the right instinct. I was trying to trust my instinct. And we showed it, we did a little rehearsal, and people laughed. And they were just thrilled. You know, John was like, yes, this is great. So then I just kept my mouth shut. And when we went to shoot it in that little room, we showed it to the crew. You know, bring the crew in, you show them. And it was crickets. It was as silent as it was in here a second ago. I mean, it was deathly quiet. And my soul crushed, because it was the biggest scene for me in the movie. And we shot it, and we shot it that way. We shot all of it. We shot his coverage, my coverage, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And the day that the dailies were shown, I waited outside the door of the dailies room with my ear to the door, and I could hear there wasn't any laughter, and I started to cry. And when they all came out, I said to Michael Schamberg, I said, we have to reshoot that scene. We have to reshoot that scene. I should have trusted my gut. Please let me reshoot that scene. I'll do anything. I'll pay for the scene, whatever it is. And he said, we have no time on the schedule. We're already late, blah, 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 blah. I said, please. And I kept pushing, and I kept pushing, and I persevered. And we shot that scene the last day of the movie. And that's now the scene in the movie now. And it, of course, is just this fantastic scene with great writing. And it would have, I think they would have cut the scene because it was death. It was absolute dead. So again, trusting my instinct brought that scene to the fruition. And I was 20, what was I, 25, 26? I mean, I was a young girl. I didn't know yet that I was right. Now I do.
Was Catherine Bigelow the first female director you worked with?
No, I did, when I decided to make no more horror films, which one of the, I know all the Nepo baby jokes, believe me, I've heard them all. And it's fine. Bring it, I don't care. The great benefit to being the daughter of people in this industry is you know how difficult the industry is, you know what to avoid. And I watched both my parents deal with pigeonholing, and I knew that if I had continued doing horror films, I would not get to do other work. I just knew it. And so I made a conscious choice to do the last Halloween, which was Halloween 2, and then say no more. And the first job that I got post-Halloween, a week later, was to play Dorothy Stratton in a TV movie called Death of a Centerfold. She was the playmate who was killed by her husband, Paul. And and that was directed by a woman, Gabrielle Beaumont. And so I had worked with a woman on that, which was incredibly difficult material. And then Catherine Bigelow. I wanted Deirdre to be very nail proud. I think that was the only time every 3 weeks that someone touched her was when she would go to the manicurist. And it was like really important to me that she had very beautiful nails because I understood that about her. So I saw my red nail there. I was just so pleased.
Someone else is going to take the stage here.
What? Uh-oh. Hi. He doesn't know what to do. Do you want me to go get him? Yeah, I'll go get him. Hold on. So. You may all not know this story, but I'm going to tell you. It's going to be good. Don't worry. 38 years ago, I was sitting with Deborah Hill. Remember when I said that all things lead back to Halloween? So I was sitting with Deborah Hill, my friend, in my apartment, and I opened Rolling Stone magazine and turned a page, and there were these three guys in regular old shirts, with their arms around each other. And I said to Deborah Hill, ooh, I'm going to marry that guy. And she said, which one? I said, that one on the outside. And she said, oh, yeah, I tried to put him in a movie once. His name is Chris Guest. And I said, oh, I'm going to marry him. And she said, oh, he's with your agents, not Rick Kurtzman, Nepo baby. And I called the agent the next day, and I left my number, and Chris didn't call me. And then, I'm almost done. And then about 2 months later, I went to a restaurant and sat down, and Chris was sitting 2 tables away, and he looked at me and he went like this, and I went like this, and then he got up to leave and he went like this.
Well, I have to stay. Oh, okay. I don't know.
And I went like this, and then he called me the next day, and we got married 4 months later. And I think you're supposed to say something.
Okay. Is this? Oh, okay. Yeah, no one explained any of this to me. I was just standing back there. I have to say that I am biased in presenting this award because, well, we've been married for 38 years, and I agree with whoever thought of this as an idea. I think that's a good idea. But again, we're husband and wife, and I think it's a fantastic idea. I can't read this, but I bet it's good. I'll do this. This is the Master Award. Thank you. And I am now going to present this award because that's why I'm here tonight, actually, for the whole night. They said, "Would you like to present it?" And I said, "Yes, I would." And here I am about to present this now, this award. So I'm going now to present it to my wife. Jamie, I love you, and I'm presenting it to you now. Here it is. Now what? I stand.